Hello, everybody. We want to welcome you to our kickoff for our Black History Month programming. I'm so excited to see all of you all who joined us this afternoon. We are so excited because we have two phenomenal men who are going to not only pour into us about the rich history of Black Chicago, but also be able to share with us just why they love this city so much. If you do not know me, my name is Jarima Gorham. I am the founder and executive director of Burst Into Books. In partnership with Blue Door Neighborhood Center, we are hosting a series of Black History events for this entire month. This is one out of our three events, and we'll talk about the next two before the night ends. I'm excited because I have the pleasure of not only introducing our first speaker, but before we get to our first speaker, I'm going to bring up Nakaya, who will talk a little bit about some of the great work that Blue Door is doing in the Pullman and Morgan Park community, and then we'll jump right into our discussion.
Thanks, Jarima, and greetings to everyone. Happy Saturday. Again, my name is Nakaya Rapier, and I am a health educator with the Blue Door Neighborhood Center. I would love to share just a little bit about us and who we are, but who we really are proud partners with Burst Into Books. It is such a pleasure to partner with Jarima and her team at Burst Into Books. It has been a phenomenal partnership, and we are excited to do it yet again for Black History Month. A little bit about Blue Door Neighborhood Center. We are Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois' first ever neighborhood center. And what we do is we positively impact community health. We do so in a variety of ways, either through yoga, Zumba classes, or other low impact fitness. We have 6 areas of focus. They're listed here on the screen: nutrition, diabetes, asthma, heart disease, behavioral health, and parent and child wellness. I would like to tell you that we have not one, not two, but 3 physical locations, one in the Pullman, one in the Morgan Park, and one in the South Lawndale community. If you are not able to get out to one of those 3 centers, we are operating in the virtual platform. We would love to connect with you either on Facebook or on our website, Blue Door Center IL. I want to shout out my teammates. If you could just wave. Hey, Kia, see you. We love to provide free health and wellness education to anyone in the community. And although we are an insurance company, you do not have to have our insurance in order to participate. In fact, we don't even talk about it. We want you to come on in, talk with us about these issues, these health conditions, and how we can live healthy, full, well lives. So that's just a little bit about us. We would love to connect with you this month at Blue Door. We are focusing on not only heart health, but Black History Month. We have a ton of programming. We are partnering with Burst Into Books for the entire month. So you'll see us at all of the events, and we're just really excited. Want to just give you a quick pointer. So if you have some questions today throughout our program, we want you to go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. We're going to remain muted for a majority of today's presentation. So if you can keep those mics muted, we would love to see you on camera, but it's not, you don't have to if you don't want to. If you haven't already, go ahead and share this link with a friend or family member. They need to be here in this room because we have some awesome discussion about Black history in Chicago. Jarima, I'm so excited. I don't know if you could tell.
I could tell. I could feel it. I could feel the excitement. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm excited because as I see in the chat, one thing I want you all to know that we both share in common is that the power of our village. And so I love the peace and blessings, the welcome, all of that in the chat. You all, we are here together to learn together. This rich history is not only just for us, but for our children. So if you have a young person in the building or at your home or wherever you are, pull them to the screen because we definitely want them to be a part of this conversation. As she already stated, we at the end are going to give opportunities for people to speak, but right now it is muted so we can hear each of our speakers. But if you have a question that you would love us to bring up in the Q&A, put it in the chat. Both of our gentlemen are on the line. So if you want to say hello to them in the chat, go ahead and do that. And we will have an opportunity for us as a community to just give each other our flowers before we're gone, right? I believe that both of them are making huge impacts in the Chicagoland area and the world. And so I just believe that this is a great platform for us to shout them up. So we're going to get ready and get started. You know, I know that you all are here to hear our beautiful voices, but we got some men who are going to bring some amazing, amazing information. So I have the pleasure, I'm going to share really quick my screen to introduce our first presenter, which is Mr. Sherman Dilla Thomas. Sherman Dilla Thomas is born and raised on the south side of Chicago. He is currently an Auburn Gresham resident, and he is a self-taught historian. He set out to highlight some of the Chicago's most powerful stories on a famed video app, TikTok, as many of us and our kids might be on. And he noticed how all the hashtag Chicago videos on TikTok showcased our food, drill music, or how you can catch them bullets in these Chi-Town streets, but it did not highlight the rich history that comes from Chicago. And so his warm and easy delivery is part of what keeps people coming back to watch his videos. Within less than a year and a half, he has completely changed the narrative of Chicago and has elevated his platform to show the beauty of our city. Before I bring him up and spotlight him to speak, I just want to say, as I've told him personally, we honored him last year at our gala. I love his work. I believe that he is really bringing in a new wave of love for Chicago. He is also so humble, you all, and you'll see that in his delivery. But also, I believe that he is getting elevated in the way that God wants him to be elevated, because as we all know, Chicago is an amazing city. So at this time, no further ado, we're going to bring up Mr. Dilla. And for the next, for this first part, he will be presenting, and then we will come up with our next speaker. So Dilla, you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm about to spotlight you. So we gotta make it that it's just you. So everybody saying, "Let's go, Dilla."
That's so really, really awesome. I'm amazingly super humbled and honored. Thank you for that awesome introduction, and thank you everybody for your time. I'm such a big proponent of time. You can do a lot of things with your time. It's like your only real choice in a lot of ways, what you do with your time, how you spend your time. So I appreciate you spending your time here with me. I won't waste a bunch of your time by way of intro, right? She's already done that. And there's a bit about me on my website, chicagomahogany.com. But what I do want to talk to you about is Chicago history and Chicago Black history. And the thing about Black history and Black History Month is that nowadays it's sort of treated like it's only for Black people to remind Black people of what Black people can be, right? And not who we are or where we're going. And definitely rarely does it intertwine itself with the rest of American history, and particularly Chicago history. But it's really, really hard to separate the two. And so that's just my particular message this morning, right? Just give you a few examples. So we know Chicago was founded in 1837. They had slavery then, but Chicago was always pretty much against slavery. Now, I'm not saying that white folks in Chicago wanted Black people to live next to them and go to school with them and that type of thing. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that the people of Chicago the people who founded Chicago, by and large, didn't come from slavery or slave owning or plantations. So they didn't really think too highly of it. And in Chicago, after they passed the Fugitive Slave Act in the 1850s, it gave free reign for white folks to come from the South to the North. And basically, if they could grab an African-American, they could say, hey, this is a runaway slave, and they can bring you back. And by and large, if a person or if someone intervened with that, they could get arrested. But in Chicago, what would normally happen is that if you caught an African-American, or if a slave catcher caught an African-American, one of the Chicago constables would run out and say, hey, okay, cool. I understand you got to take him back down south, but what I need to do is I need to clear his warrants here locally. And what he would do is take him in the police station, and then he'd come back out after about an hour and say, man, he must have got away, ran out the back. I don't know. Now he's a fugitive to me, but you don't have my permission to look for anybody in my city, so you need to leave, right? And again, that doesn't necessarily say that Chicagoans were for like equity or equality, but that's the type of shared history that we have, and we never hear anything about it. When we even speaking about the origins of Chicago, yes, they nowadays say that the first non-native indigenous permanent resident of Chicago was a gentleman by the name of John Baptiste Point du Sable. But they never like explain who he was and why that's such a magnificent thing to say. And they also kind of like trivialize it. Sometimes they'll say, well, he was here before Chicago was actually incorporated. So that doesn't make him the founder. And that's like the biggest, flattest lie ever. So that's another thing that I want to educate you to today. John Baptiste Point du Sable was the son of a French pirate, right? We famously know that Haiti had a few revolutions. And the last one, of course, is when the blacks in Haiti freed themselves. But before that, the skirmishes had happened. And John Baptiste Point du Sable's mother was killed in one of those skirmishes. And so his French pirate father said, this is in the late 1700s, right? 1770s, 1760s, thereabout. We're not exactly sure of his exact age, but we're in the 1700s, and this French pirate goes back to get his mixed ancestry son. But you got to remember, during that time, Great Britain ran the ocean, right? So you definitely needed to know how to speak English if you were going to be a pirate. You had to have any dealings with Great Britain, because most of the time you could bribe someone. But the same thing can be said about the Spanish, right? You know, they famously was taking parts of Florida and other states during that time. So they had a really big naval presence too. So you need to be able to speak Spanish as well. And I'm not a linguist, but as I understand it, if you can speak Spanish or if you can speak French, it makes it easier to be able to speak Italian, or it makes it easier to speak different languages. So by the time John Baptiste Point du Sable lands in what is now New Orleans, shipwrecked in the 1770s, he can speak English, French, Spanish, Italian, and various other dialects that he picked up living a life overseas. But in New Orleans in the 1770s, there was slavery. So he got captured. They thought he was a runaway slave. Very quickly, he talked his way out of the situation. And it was realized, because he was so bright, like, yeah, there's no way this guy could have been in chattel slavery. At that same very time, an indigenous Native American who's related to Chief Pontiac. So if you, like me, you love a Pontiac GTO, now you know why Pontiac gets his name. Pontiac was the chief of like the Great Lakes region. He would send his nephew and others down the Mississippi River, right? If you look at the curvy line of Illinois on that side, that's the Mississippi River, and it takes you all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, where you can trade with people in New Orleans. So Chief Pontiac had his nephew canoe down there. That's routinely what Native Americans did. And he met this handsome, smart brother that could speak all these languages. And he was like, oh, no, bro, you got to come back and meet the chief. And so John Baptiste Point du Sable travels with him back up the Mississippi, right, the curvy side of our Illinois state. He meets Chief Pontiac. He's so impressed with him, he lets him marry his niece, Kitawatha, which we call Catherine in English, and they set up shop in a Portage, which is now Chicago. And Native Americans didn't trade with strangers. And so that's why he's able to shut up shop at the mouth of the Chicago River. And what I just say, he can speak English, French, Spanish. What is Illinois, right? What are Detroit? What are all these different like sounding names? Well, Illinois is a Native American name. What is Detroit, right? That's the French. So they would routinely take Lake Michigan to trade. They were fur traders. And we know that the Spanish once held land and once owned Illinois, actually. So that's why that area is able to blow and blossom. That's why John Kinsey comes and he wants to set up Fort Dearborn right there on John Baptiste Point du Sable's land, because it's a moneymaker, because he's already trading with Native Americans, because his land and his shop is already trusted. The first white baby, white election, cities and corporation happened in a house he built 50 years ago in the 1770s without power tools, because that's how dope their brother was. But when they talk about John Baptiste Point du Sable, you've never probably heard any of the things that I just said, right? But that should make us all proud as Chicagoans, that type of dude is our foundation and is what grows what is now the third largest city in the country. But we don't necessarily get that information. But that's a hindrance to us all, right? That should totally make Chicagoans proud. Nowadays, you may loosely hear about John Jones, who was Chicago's first civil rights advocate, first really wealthy Black man, first African-American to hold an elected office here in Chicago. But he's so much more. We don't talk about his family lineage. Also, please like jump in the chat or take the pen or something. You know, historians are like long-winded. I will probably talk way past. I'm supposed to stop. Also, I want to take the time to shout out brother Freddie Taylor. He and I right now talking are an example of like a Chicago connection, right? I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi. And what's really, really unique about he and I both that, well, dope people are always cues, right? That's an easy thing to say, but he's from Southern Illinois, Carbondale, and I'm from EIU. And man, oh man, are we like a really, really tight chapter. In fact, our chapter names are inverted. I'm from TO, he's from OT. And like, so that's just such a crazy connection between he and I. But back to John Jones and like those type of connections, right? You know, you've heard about Jesse Binga. You've heard maybe perhaps about Mushmouth Johnson. You certainly have heard about the Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company, that being the first African-American insurance company founded north of the Mason-Dixon line. Out of that company is the reason why right now Emmett Till is buried in Burr Oaks, because that company helps fund the foundation of Burr Oaks. They fight for it legally in court. And also the gentleman who wrote the letters of incorporation for the Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company is the lawyer for Lorraine Hansberry, Mr. Earl B. Dickerson. But all of this occurs down with John Jones's lineage. You know, he has a niece that ends up marrying a guy by the name of Lloyd Weller. And Lloyd Weller Jr., we know, was the famous insurance CEO for a long time. You should look up his information in the History Makers, right? But all of that comes from Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company. One of its founders is the dude that was courting John Jones's niece, right? And again, it's another example of how the great legacy of Chicago has been long-standing and running. And we haven't done the best job of putting that information out in being able to better express how we feel. The example I commonly give about the importance and the what respect of a space, of knowing the history of that space can do, is Ellis Island. I was fortunate enough as a kid to get selected to go on a trip to New York, probably like 7th, 8th grade. But since I was in like 1st grade, every year for Columbus Day or various other holidays, St. Patrick's Day, whatever, right, we always hear about the lineage of Europeans arriving to America, and they arrived via Ellis Island. And, you know, they show stories of cool grandmas going back and crying, thinking about their grandmas. And by the time I had got to 7th, 8th grade, Jesus, I thought that place was an important place, which it is. But then, like now, I'm like a candy eater. I'm like, you know, give me a bag of Fruities. If I'm in the gas station, I'm gonna get some Now Later. It's like it's fruit or the bag. I stop it. But I was eating candy wrappers fell out my pocket. You know, I'm like 12. What do I care if I keep going? And I felt like 30 generations of Italian grandmas telling me to turn around and pick that candy up. And I did. I don't think I realized what was going on then, but like now I certainly do. I just have respect for the space. And so that's the thing that I'm pushing nowadays on TikTok and on social media. In any space that anyone gives me a chance to talk about our rich history, not just during Black History Month, which is a Chicago concept, but every month, right? Like there's greatness here, and we just do a terrible job of explaining that greatness. And that greatness, if explained properly, would make us all treat the space better. By no chance of our own, right? Like it would just innately happen because that's the power of history. It can make you do things that you don't even know you want to do, right? And history is all around us. If you want to be a basketball player, if you got kids that want to be a basketball player, if you're a basketball player yourself, the best way to get to whatever level you want to be is to figure out how someone else did it. And that's a study of history, right? Okay, well, you know, Juwan Howard went to CVS. He went to a tough neighborhood. How did he escape those issues? And how did he get out of CVS to, you know, go pro, win a championship, now be coach in Michigan, right? Well, studying the history of his life will help you get there. And so that's the thing I'm also trying to relate. Like history isn't just a stiff guy at the front of the class with a chalkboard talking about dead old white dudes or dead old black dudes. History permeates everything we do. Our kids respect history immensely, and we don't necessarily listen to them. There are so many glaring and open examples of that day to day. We ignore those signs in their music because it's violent and rough to listen to. And I agree with that. It's really, really hard to listen to today's music, especially if you got kids and all that. But everything they saying in every song is history, right? Like, they came over here and did this to me, so I responded this way. And based off of that history, if y'all come back, I'm going to respond even more this kind of way, right? That's relating to history, If we explain that to them and say, hey, there's other histories that you can relate to and respond to differently, you might not end up in those type of situations, right? But they do. We don't say that to them, sometimes when teaching and expressing the importance of our history and our heritage, it's almost like you guys aren't up to these people's standards. And that's another thing we gotta really, really stop doing. Gospel music as a concept and thought was founded here in Chicago. I'm not saying Black folks wasn't singing in church like we know about the hymns that folks sung while they were enslaved and chattel slavery, right? But it was mostly like hymns in the way that those songs were. And it wasn't until a really, really raunchy and ratchet blues singer by the name of Thomas Dorsey wrote a song called Precious Lord. And Thomas Dorsey, for most of his life before writing that song, was probably a lot more like, James Brown or someone than he was Kirk Franklin at that time. But when we talk about Thomas Dorsey's legacy, we don't mention that. We don't mention that he had a chance to change at a traumatic event, losing his wife and infant child compelled him at a kitchen table in prayer and hurt to write a song. And that song ended up creating a genre of music when Mahalia Jackson sung it. And that's what happened with drill in Chicago, right? That is exactly what happened going on in drill. Somebody lost a friend, he rapped about it, and whether we like that music or not, it's the #1 selling rap genre right now. But beyond that, every single cadence in a drill song, every slang, right? Lacking, pack, smoking a pack. If you watch Instagram with Jeezy and Pookie Loc, right? He said that with that boy Gucci, right? That is that's an internet moment that's gonna live forever, and that was a Chicago saying. And history will teach you that we've been doing that for a very long time, right? Like scatting and blues is an amazing thing that started here. Electrifying the blues, like hooking up an amp to a guitar and playing, started here in Maxwell on where we get our polishes at now, right? And none of these things get put out when we're talking about our city. And yes, that we report on violence, and that violence needs to be reported on. My favorite quote on earth, and if you say it, you gotta cite me for at least 6 months before you can steal it, right? Is kids don't take after strangers. And that applies like across the board, even in Chicago. And so while in certain communities today, there are drive-bys that sometimes occur, the first drive-by on American soil also happened in Chicago. An Irish gentleman by the name of Spike O'Neill was the victim. Got into a little tough with a guy you might have heard of by the name of Al Capone. I think he was on like 64th in Ashland when that happened. That was the first time a dude got shot at with a Tommy gun out the car, right? That don't get, So where do you think those things come from? It's an American thing. When Pearl Harbor happened in 1941, the very next day, the largest number of people ever signed up to join the army. You know why? Because they wanted their lick back. And that's basically what's happening in our streets too, right? But if we explain the history of that, I think we would have it step down. I think those type of things would change, And I think if we explain to Chicagoans more about our place in the country, like I said, I'm super long with it. I could go all day. America as a concept, we apply it to 1776 at the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but it was very, very fragile then. We didn't cement ourselves as a country until after the War of 1812. It's also something that we should teach more about that we don't. Bottom line is we tried to steal Canada from Great Britain. Canada didn't let us steal their country. They retained it. But after that is when we started to sign those peace treaties with those other countries. And it is then that it's like, okay, we don't have a real threat. We're cool with France, we're cool with Britain now. Our democracy can grow. And the first major city to be born out of that is Chicago. And so we're like America's baby city, because all other cities had, I'd say, like a culture before they Americanized themselves. Either they were part of, like I said, French colony before the Louisiana Purchase and stuff like that, or maybe they were Spanish Florida, you know, maybe they were super English as the 13 colonies, but Chicago isn't a part of any of that. It's an American city of American design, created by American players who create the railroads here. We set the time zone here. We do so many things that the country uses as a standard today. And we don't ever say any of that. We don't say it in our schools. And we really need to do a better job with that. We need to do more with illuminating our true past, our true history. And then we also got to do a way better job of connecting it to what's going on right now. I'm giving away my age as an old man, but I love a movie. It's called House Party. I encourage everybody to watch it if you haven't. If you're over 35, I'm gonna probably ask for your black card if you haven't seen House Party. But the people who created it, the Hudlin brothers, are still very much around now. They create content, and they're amazing directors who actually wrote that while they were in grad school. Their great uncle, Joseph Hudlin, is a Chicago hero who, during the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, ran into the Board of Trade and saved all the burning documents. There's a really beautiful mosaic and that sort of thing dedicated to them at the Chicago History Museum. But at the Chicago History Museum, it don't make the tat a house party. And then that's what happens, right? You think of history as something that happened and occurred and all that's cool and you keep going. But if you make that title today, you know, you say, one, you show us that history matters. Two, you show us that greatness run down bloodlines, and that promotes and pushes you to be great. You know, I am being a historian all I can because I watched my father become a Chicago police officer. I shouldn't say become, I watched my father be a Chicago police officer, and I saw him give that all he could, and not in the standard way that you see today, like, yes, I seen him jump out when crime was happening and lock somebody up. I've also seen him jump out when somebody and do something and other cops were harassing them and he talked them down. And rarely do you have a job for 32 years and you don't get promoted. But that's what happened to him and a lot of Black cops who started in the 60s and 70s. They formed what is now called the African American Police League. And they fought back against police brutality while inside. And then a byproduct of that is my father was probably one of the most brilliant men I ever met. And he should have been like lieutenant or captain, right? It's those type of brains that should be leading our police department and they don't. And I guess what I'll leave you with is that that type of activism also comes from learning our history. And that history teaches you to not be afraid in your job so long as you're doing the right thing, right? John Lewis says, it's called good trouble. And just another Chicago connection to John Lewis. Julius Rosenwald, who's the chairman and CEO of Sears, was really good friends with Booker T. Washington. In fact, he gave the money to build the Wabash YMCA, which is the birthplace of Black History Month. He built over 2,000 two-room schools in the South, and John Lewis went to one of those schools. It was the reason why he was able to go off to high school. So Chicago is great. We've been changing the country forever, and I really sincerely hope we do a better job messaging that. And I hope if you heard me today that you take a little time to research, like I say, not just Black history, but the history of African Americans in Chicago, because we have changed the scope of the world.
Man, Dilla, you better, if we could just in the chat, just when you listen to Freddie on the reverse, I want you to go in this chat because people are just like in awe of all the things you shared. And what I want to say, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Nakia because we got Freddie coming up next, and then we're gonna bring y'all both on together, is that what I love about it, Dilla, is that you can just tell it's just a passion and a love of yours. You know what I mean? And you just saying like, you all here self-taught with this history. This isn't like him going to college and becoming a historian. This is like, I sincerely love this city and I love what all the connections it brings. And what he just spoke to as an educator, and I have so many of my dope friends on here who are educators and in the community, it's when our kids learn about that they're going to want to look at themselves and their city so much different, right? And so I just appreciate that. And thank you for being here, man. I'm so proud.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm so proud of you. So I'm going to give it over to Nakaya because we got Freddie, y'all. I don't know if I'm ready. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready, Nakaya.
I am enjoying this so much. I think it's a good time to pause, and in the chat, if you could just give us one word of something you learned or something you're looking at a different way. Dilla definitely brought the heat. And I'm proud to be from the South Side, you know? Let us know in the chat where you're from. Even if you're outside of Chicago, let us know where you're logging in from. If you're from the Chi, drop your hood, drop your neighborhood, drop where you're from. We didn't get a chance to do that, but it's so many living legends in this space, and we want to acknowledge everyone here. Shout out, shout out. That was amazing. I took pages of notes, like pages of
Freddie
notes.
talking about something. And Freddie said, how we gonna have him follow that? Because Freddie, you dope.
You dope, Freddie.
It's like getting us ready, getting our muscles ready. So you about to bring it too. I'm so excited.
Yes. All right. Jeremy, you gonna put up the slide?
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
So you all, thank you. Continue to share in the chat. This has been so awesome. But now we're going to bring up our second presenter.
Yes. Also, if you have more questions, drop them. We will get to them as soon as we're done with this segment. All right, so I'm super excited and privileged and honored to bring up our second guest today. This is our visionary entrepreneur and philanthropist. These are just a few words that describe Freddie E. Taylor, founder and CEO of Urban Intellectuals. Y'all, get excited. We are talking to the founder and CEO of Urban Intellectuals, spurred by the lack of Black history instruction that his sons received in grammar school. Freddie knew the onus was on him to create a new narrative of Black culture. And in 2009, Urban Intellectuals was born. Initially, Urban Intellectuals was an online hub of Black media that boasts over 1 million Facebook fans, a mobile app, and its own social media network. Wow. Today, the company has several products, including the renowned Black History flashcards. Note on that. Urban Intellectuals has aggressively taken a lead role in engaging, educating, and empowering people who are curious and passionate about the African diaspora. Over 300,000 Black History flashcards have been sold and featured in Essence, Huffington Post, CBS Chicago, Good Morning Washington, Milwaukee PBS, ABC News Live, and Sister Circle on TV One, and more. UI enjoyed a 2019 Black History Month collaboration with JetBlue, featuring the flashcards in the JFK and Newark airports. Wow. Additionally, Urban Intellectuals received the 2021 All Black National Convention's Black Business of the Year Award. Family, please put your virtual hands together for our panelists. I'm like, where did he go? Freddie Taylor, thank you so much. We're so glad that you're here. The floor is yours.
Hey, thank you for having me and making sure just you my mic check, y'all hear me, everything is good and all of that.
Good.
Hey, y'all bogus for making me follow Dilla, bro. Come on. You smashed it, man. I know we got to get down, bro. I want to get up with you, man, team. For real, dog. T.O. in the house. I feel you. I love it. I appreciate y'all. I got a quick question. What time do you need me to shut it down so that we have time for Q&A? I want to respect the time. I can speed it up and give you heat. Like, you just let me know.
Let's say 12:50. You got 12 minutes.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, how y'all doing, right? My name's Freddie Taylor, CEO and founder of Urban Intellectuals. We're making fun and easy to learn Black history. You talked about our Black History flashcards. We got live Black history classes taught by Black teachers inside of our Sankofa Club. We've extended to curriculums that we're building and pushing into schools because this narrative is so important that it has to be in schools and our children at a very young age. And if you haven't caught the word, we've expanded to Black history travel experiences, of which we're going to Kemet later on this year, and it's sold out inside of 24 hours. It's bananas. We're adding additional trips. Come get down with us, because we're not just talking about Black history. We living it, we breathing it, we eating it, and we getting down with our people to inspire you and what it can do, right? I'm coming in hot, so we got to go, right? I got a couple of points that I want to make, and I love that Brother Dilla's where he started from, because I want to talk not only about slavery, but before slavery, right? I want you to know, number one, that Black history is world history. Everybody type that in the comments, right? Black history is world history. This is what we're leaving out. This is the missing pages of world history. This is why nobody understands and respects our contributions to humanity on this planet, because we're systematically being written out of the dialogue, right? And we all the time, we just Black History Month, happy Black History Month. Shout out to Carter G and Woodson for what he's done, and all the pioneers before him, like Martin Delaney, right? We talk about Pan-Africanism, right? Like we got to start talking about everyone that has these conversations, not just the same 8 to 12 individuals that they talk about every single Black History Month, where our history is so vast, it's so deep, it's so powerful, it's so inspiring. Boom, inspiring. That's where I want to go with you today, because Dilla's a historian. I'm not a historian. I'm an enthusiast that uses Black history as a motivator to inspire people to do and be the change that they want to see in the world, right? So I'm going to tell you some stories. I'm going to try to get you a little bit fired up, but I'm going to share a couple of things with you, because Black history, right? We talk about inclusion, right? That's the hot topic right now. Inclusion. We got to include everybody in these stories and all of that, right? You know, Barack Obama, he's the Black president, and this is so great. Kamala Harris is so great, because these visions, to see them on the wall, is just an inspiration to our children. Is it? Is it? No diss to them for rising to the height of their profession. But if you want to talk about inspiring children, how about we go tell the truth? How about little Black boys and little Black girls find out that mathematics was brought to the planet by people that look like them? What you think that would do for them? We talk about the dearth, the lack of engineers, STEM, right? STEM, or Black representation in STEM, right? But we know by third grade, mathematically, people fall off that you can't be an engineer. If you don't get calculus by 9th, 10th grade, how you gonna become an engineer, right? So if you really wanna change, you really wanna talk about inclusion, you really wanna make a difference, how about we go back and tell the truth? Stop lying to your children and stop allowing people to lie to them, telling them that the Greeks invented or discovered mathematics, right? The principles have always been there. Somebody had to realize them. The Greeks didn't start mathematics, right? We got a shirt that's shape of Africa, but inside of it, it says, guess who taught the Greeks, right? Because when you read the history, they tell you. They sat at the feet of the Africans. Why are we allowing our babies to be lied to? Black history is world history, but it's the pages that's been ripped out and been missing, right? And it's not just, I'm gonna go into this in a minute, it's not just the Western states that have lied to you, right? Islam had a slave trade as well. We don't even talk about it, right? But when you go west, when you go east, the same manipulation, the same leaving us out of the conversation in world history was done to the east that was done in the west. And we let Islam off the hook, right? The Arabs, excuse me, right? It's just the truth. I like the truth, people. And if the truth offends you, that's your issue, it's not mine, right? And I'm just gonna come and hit you in the face with it. Black history is world history. If we want to inspire our children and grow them, you got to start telling them the truth. Information is power. You remember Malcolm X was a petty criminal? He was a criminal. Most of us love Malcolm X, right? Spent some time in Chicago, done his thing, right? Under the nation, right? All that. He was a petty criminal until he got a piece of information. If he can turn his life around, what happens if you feed your children the truth from the beginning? 6, 7, 8 years old, telling them about Columbus discovered America. It's like me walking into your house. I discovered your home. I subjugate your children. I put y'all all in the basement and I make you work my crypto mining farms. A little joke, but it's powerful. That's what happened, right? I'm gonna dig into that in just a second. But information is power. We gotta dig in and start telling the truth. Don't be embarrassed by the truth. They lying to your children. They lying to their children. But I know why they tell you that the Greeks is behind not only mathematics, but the sciences, the languages, and all of that, because it's to inspire their children to be great. Because they need to see that representation, right? So why wouldn't you do that for yours? I wanna talk history, but I want to inspire you to wake up and start sharing this information with not only your children. I want to challenge you to go back into the community and share it with other people's children, right? You got to raise your children, and that's great. I love dads, right? Dilla talked about his dad. I love it. I want to get into my dad, but I'm speedballing, right? But I love it because it's inspiring, but we're a community. You got to go back. If nobody reaches the hand back and pull nobody forward, what's going to happen when your great-great-grandchildren is looking for a mate in the community? Where they going to be at? Ain't going to be no community, right? We got to start thinking bigger than us, right? And it's bigger than just what you're going through because your ancestors, I got the wrong shirt on. Founders, right? I'm busy making my founders proud. Folks say ancestors, right? I got that in my other backpack, right? Same difference, but your ancestors went through hell. Now it's your time to step up, right? I got this new shirt. I'm gonna say this here for the first time, right? But you're the future ancestors. You're the future ancestors. Everything that you dream about, they're gonna be standing on your shoulders. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And I know one good way to change the trajectory of everything in your lineage, your family, your children, our community, our future, is to tell them the truth about what your people brought to humanity. See, this ain't about Black history because we just want to say how dope we are. This is about the future. This is about understanding where we're going. And this information feeds your soul. If you want to change the world, you got to change people from the inside out. Like Malcolm X found out about some information and he was transformed. Black history has the power to transform you and your children. I just dare you to be bold enough to share it. Just because everybody around you is talking about a whitewashed version, right? I'm so mad. I got slides. I want to listen. I got some stuff for you, but I want you to understand that it has the power to change everything, but it's from the inside out. Self-confidence is the key to success in life. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care how many facts you know, book knowledge. We all know book smart dummies, right? We all know people who technically don't understand a lot, right? But they got this thing that we call resilience, that they'll go over, around, above, and through whatever obstacle is in front of them. You know where that comes from? Confidence. You know how you get confidence? When you understand who your people are and the contributions to humanity that they've made. We cheating our children because we're giving them a whitewashed version of history that says they never contributed anything to humanity. Slavery is a conversation that's always had around this time. You know, y'all was nothing but slaves, and then Harriet Tubman, couple of marches, and then Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. That's what your history has been reduced to. Do you know that America and the Western slave trade and Islam and the Arab slave trade going east never captured and enslaved slaves? They enslaved agriculturalists. They enslaved scientists. They enslaved architects. They enslaved people who built civilizations. Because when you go before 1492, right? Because everything's about King Ferdinand, Princess Isabella got together. Y'all know this story, right? And they got together, and then they Christopher Columbus to sail west. You know that story. Do you know they defeated the Moors in southern Spain at Granada? I had pictures. I was there with my daddy. My daddy's 92 years old now. I was there a couple of years ago. We walking around the Alhambra. Look it up, Google it. The Alhambra was the fort inside of Granada. It was the last Moorish stronghold in Europe. Because from 711 AD through 1491, they dominated this area. Not only just Southern Europe, going east, North Africa, the Middle East, which is Africa. Stop playing games, man. We let these people say whatever they want to say. You accept it as truth because you ain't got the intestinal fortitude to tell it to your children, right? But it's eroding them from the inside out, and it's doing damage to us. We got to stop that, right? But you get to the Alhambra, it's beautiful. We walked 3.5 miles around this fort that's high up on the mountain. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's mathematically sound. If you Google it and just look and see, it's of a people of brilliance. But that ain't the only civilization to be talked about. Western Africa, we can go back thousands of years, and in Eastern Africa, Southern Africa. Listen, we literally got tens of thousands of years of civilization prior to colonialization, right? Didn't nobody steal no slaves? They stole mothers, they stole fathers, they stole grandparents, they stole elders, they stole mentors, they stole community members, they stole architects, they stole doctors, they stole scientists. They stole the people that brought all of these things to the world. Your ancestors gave the world everything they have, and we not telling the children these facts. We are robbing them of their self-confidence. And self-confidence is the key skill. This is why, I'm looking at the time, I'm over. But look, this is why every single community outside of you has Saturday schools talking about their history, their culture, and their language, because they know that it's the central skill of success in their future, of the bond, of bringing people together. I saw Black Wall Street in the comments. All of that's great. You can't get there talking. You got to instill it in here and raise them up right. And they'll just do what they know they need to do. It's not difficult, right? Black history is world history. But what I want you to know about slavery is not Black history. Slavery is interrupted Black history. Stop feeding the narrative. Your people got tens of thousands of years, I just say that, of documented history on this planet, building civilizations and educating the world. Libraries, universities, trade centers all around the world, not just Africa. Google the Folsom people. Right here in the United States, they got 14,000 years of history right here. You know who they look like? You and me. Oh, nobody want to have that conversation. Central America, all the way down. Listen, you're a global people that's been on this boy for a long time. Stop letting people tell you that you less than. You're not just a slave. You're not just the descendants of slaves. Barack Obama is not the height of your achievement, because when you go before colonization, you find what you was really up to. So I just dare you to go research your history beyond what an oppressor is telling you. And I want to challenge you to not only tell a friend, but to inspire them to tell somebody as well. I'll just leave it there. So I appreciate y'all my time. Dilla, you dope, brother. I appreciate y'all for having me today.
Freddie, you better stop playing. Talk about I'm gonna come behind that. Boy, please. If we don't, I told y'all we giving people their flowers. Put in the chat. Come on, you all, give it to them. People like, look, We gonna hold on. You talking about you got slides? We'll hold on for that. Okay. I'm so grateful for these gentlemen that we have here on the screen right now, you all. And as Nakia is pulling them up, we got 5 hours for we got 5 more hours for this. I love it.
I need about that. We touched
I know, right?
scraping the surface.
Before we dive in, because I've kind of formulated some questions based on things I've seen in the chat. I want people really quickly to get this information. So, Dilla, if you are not following him, Freddie, myself, Blue Door, please do. I'm so excited because both of them are men I really admire just their work. Dilla has already shared just the way he's impacting this new generation and just even us as adults, because I just like Nakia had my notes. But Freddie, I want to tell you about Freddie. These flashcards, you all, are just the tip of the iceberg of all of the knowledge that you saw pouring out of him. And even for myself, we have all 4 volumes, right, of the flashcards. Talking to your team, we're going to get more. And we'll be emailing you all who are on this call. So hopefully you register through the registration link, because I'll be sending out an email after this event, because we have purchased so that each attendee gets a first volume of these flashcards. Right. And when I tell you this is rich history, you all, every day, me and my son will pick a card, talk about it. And it was so many brilliant names and people and events. And I could just see the lights lighting up in my son's eye. And he's so right. Confidence comes from seeing the brilliance of who we are. When they don't see it in the textbooks, if they don't see it in the books that they're reading, if they don't see it every day, they start feeling like, where is my place in this world? And we are world history, as Freddie kept saying. So please, when you get the email, we'll put it in the chat, but I don't want it to get lost in the chat. Fill out the Google form. They're already purchased. It is our gift to you, so we can continue to pass on this rich history. And then also you will get a survey from Blue Door, so you can be connected to all the wellness and all of the great programming that's there. And then last but not least, we have 2 more events. We have one that's Women in Black History that will be next Saturday, where you can go to our website and register. And we also have a hybrid event that will be virtual for those who may not be able to come in person, but in person at Blue Door in the Pullman Center. Again, go to www.birthsofbooks.org, hit Black History Month, and you can register for that event. So I'm gonna stop sharing so we can jump on in, because we got these brothers and I wanna make sure we get this good knowledge. So the first question I had, and I think it's a good way to wrap it together, because you both already spoke to being amazing men who love our history, who are fathers, who are also involved in the community. I think we can wrap this up because I believe parents are teachers. We treat our students as our kids. What do you believe is some of the critical ways in which educators and parents, and you kind of hit on it, like I even thought in my head, we need to be reimagining what family vacations are, right? You know, even when you said, you know, where you and your father went, I'm like, man, when we start thinking about summertime, where are we taking our kids? That's just one example. What would be some tangible things that your work is doing that parents should know about and educators should know about? And what are some things that we should be doing to really empower this next generation about our Black history?
Brother Dilla, please lay into it.
Okay. So one, yeah, especially going overseas and tapping into Blackness across the diaspora is dope. Before your pockets allow you to get to that space, though, there is a way to do it here, right? Like, there's a lot of Kemetic or Egyptian, if you want to call it, type of architecture here in Chicago that's like beautifully laid out. It's exact replicas of what's over in Africa. You can take your kids on those type of excursions, if you will. We used to like pack lunches, get in the car and ride around the city for like 2 hours. And like the kids like really dug that. And I would, you know, maybe say, it'd be something for me. You know, I've never been in this neighborhood. Or I've never been in this monument, or I've never seen this statue. Maybe it's something I saw online in the TikTok or something. I'm like, all right, I want to go check this thing out. Instead of, it's just put them in the car. Like those small things are really cool things that you can do with your kids and for yourself. to kind of step up the culture. And then I'm like big on spending money in places you don't usually spend money in. I know we all Black and we, but how often do like Southsiders go to the West Side, and buy something, right? We all like addicted to this, get something done as fast as I can so I can get back home and do nothing sort of thing. You're like, no, you know what I mean? Every now and again, drive to the West Side and spend some money just to have a cultural experience. And like, you'd be surprised how what your kids remember from that. They ain't gonna remember going to what you bought out the store. They're gonna be, remember Madison Avenue. They're gonna remember a building. They're gonna remember, something that they just didn't see.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly say, crap about Black History flashcards, right? They really have an engagement about different things, but it's really about expanding the conversation on what our young people are seeing so that they can be inspired. You don't really know what your children are gravitating towards. So if you can go through a deeper conversation, again, beyond the same 8 to 12 people, if we took a minute, you could put it in the comments. The same 8 to 12 people is always discussed, and our history is so much deeper than that and vaster than that. But one piece of information can set the spark on fire with your child. That's it. They just need to be inspired. We got a story of a mom talking about Lewis Latimer, and the filament inside of a light bulb. Her child he knocks over the lamp, it spills, it busts, and she's upset about it because they're rushing to get their 5 minutes a day to keep the miseducation away. That's like a practical thing that we're always talking about. It's trademark, by the way. 5 minutes a day keeps the miseducation away, right? But just small bits of information really is powerful. Kid knocks over the lamp bulb. The mom is frustrated, but she sees the filament inside, and she decides to have a conversation about her children that day about Lewis Latimer and the filament, right? Thomas Edison always gets the credit, all the glow, but his light bulb used to flicker and go out like that. It wasn't until the filament was created, right? But Lewis Latimer liked a particular type of circuit. So this mom went a little bit deeper, went and got the circuit board, and put it together for her 8-year-old son. And he allowed him to put it together. And then the light bulb came on and an engineer was born that day. Simple information is transformational. I dare you to inspire yourself and your children with it.
I love it. Dilla, I was also giving you the alley hoop to talk about these tours we doing, these Chicago tours. I mean,
yeah, I'm like this, man. I appreciate that. I think I give a damn good tour. I think especially it's not scripted, so it's so much rich information in Bronzeville. Believe it or not, for us in the Stockyard in Bridgeport, so many lessons, just economic lessons, like we couldn't work for Spiegel and how many homeowners Spiegel employed because the factory played a union job. Like it's so much stuff. So yeah, please go to ChicagoMahogany.com and purchase a tour if you can. But just saying, I'm with engaging with your kids and with your family, and even like as an adult, like my brother always says, what entertains us trains us. So it's okay to every now and again enjoy something, that ain't necessarily feeding you, but 85% of anything I ingest is to make me better. And then the other 15% might be Peaky Blinders or Sopranos or something like that. So, that for us as adults too, like what entertains us, trains us, try to engage for better. So we could be dope ancestors. I love that. I'm like, dang, I got 7 kids. I knew I was going to be somebody's granddaddy, but I know I was going to be somebody's ancestor. Now I got to work harder.
Hey, Dilla, I would love to link up with you on those tours, man. We was thinking about expanding our trips to local areas.
No, come jump on a tour right now. I got one on the 12th and the 26th. Like, either one of them Saturdays, come jump on.
Okay, all right. Let's wrap outside of this. All
right, for sure.
I love it. A question in the chat before I get to mine again, and then we're gonna come to a wrap. This has been so rich, you all. Like they said, we could be on here forever. A question in the chat is the Newberry Library a good source of Black history in Chicago? Was the question.
I could answer that. Yeah. Especially now, man. Freddie gonna love this answer because he's militant. raising hell about after George Floyd death done made it to where like institutions don't want you to raise hell and burn their buildings down, right? And so whereas like archival information at the Newberry might have been a hassle to get to, them and the Chicago History Museum are dying for you to go in there and ask them to crank open the repository. So yeah, go visit.
Love it.
Amazing.
Nakai, can you read the next question that's in the chat?
Yeah, we have a question from Ocean Lewis. What are the ages for the math boot camp?
Yeah, so we have a program that we call the Black Math Genius Program. Our sister Asada Moore is the teacher behind that curriculum. She believes that you need to start with your 3-year-old, right? So 3 through 18, right? So the program is broken down. You'll see, you go to blackmathgenius.com, you can check it out. But it's really starting with the history of mathematics. Remember that truth I was talking about? How we got to inspire our children. They are unmotivated because everything that they learn is about somebody else, people that don't look like them, when the truth is, all we got to do is start with the truth, right? But it's inspiring when little Black boys, and particularly little Black girls, learn that mathematics was probably birthed by them. It's 40,000 years ago, the Lumbambo bone, right? Go Google that one, right? Using the thigh of a baboon to trace the lunar calendar, because she's probably tracking her cycle, right? Is the origin of mathematics. 40,000 years ago, the Greeks wasn't even a thing, right? Tell the truth, shame the devil, inspire your children. Check out blackmathgenius.com because it infuses this rich history of mathematics. Then it goes into Kemet and all. I mean, it's just, we got a long storied history that for some reason we are afraid to talk about and tell your children, but it's the key to really inspiring them, right? So please check that out.
And I think it'll help our kids when we have these narratives of like, I don't like history, or I don't like math, I'm not good at math. A lot of it is because they don't even know we created it. How you not gonna be good at something? It's in your DNA, baby.
It's in your DNA. You are a creator on this planet, right? And what I love about history and the truth, it builds confidence in your children, but it builds respect in other races on who we are, because they've been lied about who we are as well. So I love our white brothers and sisters that are engaging our content because they just want their young people to know the truth. Because when we know somebody's history and their culture and their contributions to humanity, you respect them better. That's why when you talk to Black people now, you say, where you want to go internationally? They say, I want to go to Europe. I want to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I want to see this. Because you know their history and their culture. You don't know yours. They don't know yours. That's why they don't respect you. I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm saying that's one of them. But I know the truth will set you free, but the truth will also start to garner respect on this world scene. That's why I make it a point to talk about the Arab slave trade, because they did the same thing going east that Europeans did going west. They wrote you out of history. And that's why the people don't respect you, because they don't understand your contribution to humanity. And turns out you got a serious one, right? Everybody will respect you more if they knew what you contributed. But there seems to be a conspiracy to keep that information out, not only from you, but from them as well.
Yep. And someone in the chat earlier, and people have been tagging me a lot in it because I'm huge about literature, about all these banned books, right? Like they're starting to ban all these books from the curriculum and from school libraries. And it's a reason, you all, and that doesn't mean that we can't purchase it and make our own home libraries. Okay. We got our own collection of what our own canon is, right? That our kids should read. So I think that don't believe that just because your school is maybe, and then that's a whole nother conversation about parent advocacy. But I think that we should understand that we have power to still instill what our kids are reading.
Oh, I can't be quiet. I got to jump in again because I mean, you're really hitting on it. Ain't nobody coming to save you. Ain't nobody coming to change it. Listen, you can march, you can do whatever you want to do. This conspiracy is showing you somebody isn't trying to hear equality and truth in education. If you want your children to be inspired, you better jump in and get busy. You better take it up. You better, listen, you better get serious about this, because it's the mind, the whole battle is right here inside your children's mind. They are warping it with watered down versions of who they are. So if you're going to be a true parent, you better step up and give them what they need, so it feeds their soul, so they can ignite their talents, their aspirations, and their dreams. I just dare you to be fulfilled. I dare you to allow them to be fulfilled. I dare you to pour into them. You got to get busy, though. It's on you. Ain't nobody coming to save you. They're not about to legislate this into being fair. You better make the difference. This is why we started the Sankofa Club with our live Black History classes. Check it out, sankofaclub.com, right? Black history teachers feeding into Black children, or whoever children want to show up, to get the world history that's being left out, right? So we're trying to make it easier for you to engage, but you got to get serious, man. Like Dilla said, I mean, you the future ancestors. You the shoulders that somebody about to stand on. It's time to get erect, right? I don't care about your red bottoms. I don't care about your reality TV. I don't care about your football game. What you gonna do? We getting slaughtered out here. You better wake up. Let's get serious.
Man. And there was a few comments about this recording, where you will be able to watch it. It will actually be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So I will make sure that through the email that you'll receive the survey about the getting the flashcards and more information about the work they're doing, all the things they share, we will have in an email that goes out to everyone who registers. So don't worry about this link. We're gonna have to close this out. There was one last question. I know, one last question. We're gonna end it here, you all. And again, continue to follow and connect. The question was, what is a good resource for people to learn about Chicago's Black wealth? That was the question that was in the chat.
There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Christopher Reed, Professor Emeritus out of Roosevelt. Really, really dope stuff. It's a good start. And he got a lot of stuff. It isn't like struggle stuff. He goes into like I say, Binga and Mush Mouth, and just the dope amount of businesses that were started in Bronzeville. He's the gentleman that taught me about Murray's hair grease, right? That orange can that you still got from 1987. That's a Chicago invention. He's a dope guy. And then Dempsey Travis autobiography of Black Chicago.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So, you all, what I'm going to do is, because there's so many people in here who are just loving you all, what I'm going to do is we're going to actually stop the recording here, but I'm going to allow us to, at this time, to say first, thank you both for taking this time on your Saturday to pour into us. You giving us more than enough information of things to continue to think about and to pour into our kids and to ourselves. And I'm going to allow those who have been muted this whole time, try to get off mute, to come off mute if they want to say something to you all. And so, Nakai, I think on your side, you have the control to stop the sharing. Or is it me? No.
Oh, yeah.